Whoa, it's Wulzy and welcome to day 4 of build week. Today I'm going to be making the designs. A few changes have been made since the last episode, mainly in this wave. I put D blocks on this platform right here because sometimes you could accidentally clip it. This vortex is now perfectly centered in the middle of the screen, and that is because I changed this move trigger to a -15 instead of a -10. The other thing is that I changed the move time on this to add an extra second, and that just makes it a lot smoother when you're coming out of this. Before I design anything in this level, I want the colors to change with the ambience of the music so I know what I'm working with. So I'm going to set up some pulses for color channel 2. So this pulse is a total of 4 seconds, it fades in for 2, increases the saturation, increases the hue, increases the brightness, and also fades out for 2 seconds. And then I want to do the same but also desaturate it for the second part. For the ship part, I want to have quite a long and saturating pulse with quite a significant hue change, just to make that feel a lot more special. See, look how good that looks in really saturated colors, especially when it's going to have the blending screen above, which I'll add later. Then in the robot part, I'm going to delete all of these values. I'm going to decrease the brightness by 0.2. That's just going to make it feel a lot more murky going into this. And also you've got this pulse right here, which I made earlier, that already changes everything to black, so I don't want to tamper with that too much. I'm going to quickly go and test our base pulses. Let's have a look. I'm quite liking how this is looking with quite a dark saturated tone, and it also goes quite greyed out there too. That looks really good. I really like that. Then let's see this going murky. Oh, that looks really cool because the middle doesn't really change as much, but the background does go darker. And then this is all unchanged. So for this wave, I really want to go against that black pulse. I really want to make up for that lack of color. I need to playtest this very closely to make sure that none of this is too ridiculous. See, I don't like that tone of green. Here's the wave pulse. Pretty much exactly the same as the one I did earlier, just plus 30 hue, plus 0.2 saturation, and plus 0.3 brightness. Because it doesn't look good when you adjust the hue too much, because it starts using the color purple, which doesn't fit in with the rest of the colors on screen. Group 36, you are about to see some magic. Alright, here is the color channel I will be using for the blending screen. As you can see, blending is ticked. It's on hue 180, copy color channel 2. It's moving on the X coordinate at all times. Then it's got an alpha trigger fading it in for 1.4 seconds to 0.3 opacity. Then this changes for 10 seconds and it goes to 0.43. This is how the level is looking so far with these color changes. I much prefer these to just the regular colors that we had in the beginning. I'm liking how the blending screen's going so far too. It's tinting everything to a nice color, and I've just realized that the color trigger doesn't actually work like that, and it doesn't allow you to have a fade time when you're changing to another copy color. Okay, now for this, I'm going to untick copy color, and I'm going to put in my own values right here. So I want this to be around this color. I'm going to copy that. Then in this color channel, I'm going to change it to a much lighter blue. And that's going to actually fade this time because I'm not using a copy color. I'm going to play test this again to make sure the opacity I chose is right. Let's test it again going through the ship part. It should be changing right here. Good. I can see it changing slightly, making it look slightly desaturated and saturated at the same time, which is quite interesting. Alright, so it's time to make the covering mask for the robot part leading into the wave, maybe through the wave and to the cube portal. Made a brand new color which copies the background color at 0.95 opacity, so you can just see through it if you look closely. I'm just going to give the whole level a good covering. I will be able to delete these when the boundaries are introduced in the wave and the ball, maybe. Now we're at 25k objects, but we can now take out all of the areas that have some kind of block in them. Turned off the object color. I can't see any of the spikes. I'm probably going to die, but this is looking pretty gnarly so far. There, look how neat the wave part looks without any outlines on the blocks and just the sheer color difference. I like that. Alright, so here is the grand reveal for the final effect in the level. I made a couple of tweaks to the mask and I'm finally happy with it. I didn't like how open it was on the left, and I kind of wanted to continue the effect format from the previous part, how the sides are all cut off. So to do this, I literally just copied that one slope that I made and put it in a diamond shape that just gets smaller and smaller and smaller as the layers go down. Alright, I'm using these lines that I copied from down here to make the edges of the blocks. Since the beginning is quite obscured by this filter, I want to use a very simple block design that's quite similar to the ground to A, make links between elements, and B, not make anything clustered at all. So literally what I'm going to do is just going to copy the values of these lines to this structure, which is going to have bigger and bigger gaps between the lines as it goes on, and then made a block at the very bottom. Alright, I decided to extend that design across the entire block because it looked weird just having it on two pillars, especially when the effect is so quick. When it's on a big area like that, it's much more evident and it's much more smooth. Bang, one design done. Moving quick today. I'm liking the variation because right here you can see that there's a solid block sometimes, but not all the blocks have that because of how it's formatted. So I've been quite smart in doing that, I think. Alright, all slopes and outlines have been set to invisible in this ship section. And for the design, I have included these blocks right here, which are copied from the values of the outside of that line. Alright, I am going and selecting this mask and setting it to 38 because it was causing issues when it was overlapping this block. This is a pretty big moment for how this level will turn out. I'm testing the visibility in the ship with this spike format in the ship. Let's see if you can tell what's going on, please. Oh, you can! Oh, that's awesome. You can tell where the spikes are even though they're part of the effect. That is cool. This block actually looks kind of epic when you've got base on black blending and you just have the plus visible. The detail is going to pulse white the block before, and the block after will see the main fade to white. Alright, so with these triggers down and out of the way of my editor playtesting vision, I'm going to copy this and use build helper, which basically assigns it to a brand new group that hasn't been used yet, as well as the triggers. This just saves you manually adding the group every single time. Alright, watch this. I can copy the value of the block of interest, put a spike above, paste the states, and now it has the exact properties that I need in order to keep the effect consistent for both the top of the blocks and the spikes. That's going to look pretty nice when they pulse. Epic. Okay, coming down to the last two spikes. There we go. Now this should be all fine and dandy for visibility going into normal mode. Let's just see. I really like how everything is white when the screen goes dark. When it brightens up, it's not as attractive, but I still think it works. Gonna keep the wave blocks in a very similar format. This is going to pulse first, and this will fade in after. Here it is. That's what's going to be put on every single block. But if I just went and flipped it like this every time, it would go backwards. So I need to make another variant of it with only this flipped that I can copy paste after I go and put all these in. If I flip it upside down, it doesn't matter because the triggers will still be in the same sequence. I'm very glad all of these pulses were layered because I've just changed them to a 3-second fade in time and moved them 5 blocks to the left just so they start fading in before the middle one. I think that's going to work a lot nicer. I also forgot to make these main only, I think. This is ticked now, so this should look even better than it did. These pulse triggers were not layered, so I went and changed every single one of them because I thought I was being smart, but apparently not. So now I'm individually selecting every number in chronological order: 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. Nope, there's a bloody pulse trigger underneath that. 85, 86, 87. And these also need to have 0.05 and a 1 fade out. I've also moved these triggers 5 blocks to the left more because I want them to appear as black when they first come onto the screen, and then as soon as they leave I want them to have a white outline. Don't know if it's really been worth it fixing them. Yes, it is, because this is so much more smooth. When they are fading in and they are on that grey colour, they get colorized, which is super nice. Alright, so I've put some slopes on the edges of these blocks, not these because they're quite awkwardly shaped and I want them to be different. I've been using these corner pieces and these corner pieces to make the lighter edges closest to the inside. Adding a reasonable amount of grounding blocks right here, the filler blocks to take up the rest of this structure. Alright, these have all been done. I'm now going to select all of these and put them on a color 9 black. Then the bottom one's going to get moved 2 down. The top one's going to get moved 2 up, as I was saying. I have aligned move triggers to the edges of all of these blocks. Now these are going to move 3 sets of 5 blocks to the left, and these are going to have a 2-second move time on a bounce in out, going up 20, apart from these up here, which are going to go down 20. Now, I just gotta go and number them all, and these will be fully functional movements. The move triggers are all done. I'm just gonna alter the move time to 3 so it's a bit more visible on screen. Let's have a look and see. Yes, there we go. Once these pulse, this will look pretty nice, I think. Alright, I'm adding pulse triggers 2 blocks to the left of each of these with their respective groups. There we go. That looks actually quite epic. That looks better than I thought it was gonna look. Holy. It's definitely nothing special. I just think it's something to vary it up a little bit. And I want to include these blocks in this wave right here. Alright, I want to add some depth to the inside of these blocks in the robot part. I'm going to use this block as an example. I'm going to put glow along the top, regular blocks on the inside, and slopes just to fill in the outside. I'm going to set this to don't fade, don't enter, and also 50% opacity black. I'll just go and paste those values and check it out in normal mode. It should be looking nice and shadowed along the bottom edge. Should give it a little bit of variation in its color, so I like that. Squaring off some of these blocks in the wave to allow for 2 different designs that are differentiated by a thick outline. These blocks will initially be black, but once the player reaches them, they're going to pulse white, just like these blocks right here, which I do want to incorporate into the design somehow. These blocks will go on the corners, and these edge blocks will go on the side like so, just to make the edges a little bit more opaque, and that will gradually fade up to this outline right here. Gonna give it a bit more depth. I'll also set this to black. The designs inside these outlines are going to be different to the designs inside these slopes, and I felt like one block right here will be a little bit awkward, so I added a corner piece right here, just linking these objects together so it's a lot easier to select because they are on 2 different layers. I wanted to be able to select them individually and as a link. Now this makes the grouping process a lot easier because I can just add 237, 239. This one comes before, so I'm going to give it 238, and then next 3. I'm just lining up pulses to the edges of these blocks, and then when they are all done, I'm going to select them all and move them back about 8 blocks. This number might change, but it's just a starting number I have in mind. Just fixed 2 mistakes. I turned off glow, and I also increased the Z order so that these blocks are higher than their filler insides. This should be a lot cleaner now when I'm going in. Very cool. Might alter the pulse time because it's a little bit awkward at the moment. They do stay white for a very long time. I'm going to change that to a 2, and I'm going to move the block 2 spaces to the right, I think. Nice. That's a lot smoother. But there's one change that you're probably screaming at me to do. That is going to be very tedious, but it's going to be worthwhile. This is going to make the outside pulsing effect a lot more smooth. Basically, I'm copying the base object and just flipping it on its side, just so it's one continuous line instead of being so blocky on the edges as opposed to the smooth outside. I gotta select these edges one by one just to make sure that I don't mess up the grouping process. As you can see in preview mode right now, if I sweep over, it will be nice and smooth. This little fade in right here. Now when I play in normal mode, it's looking very sleek. It's getting colorized on the fade in, and these squared off blocks tie into it pretty nicely. This next design to go inside the slopes is going to tie it in together even nicely. That's not a word. Remember, this is all masked, so I don't want to have anything inside the blocks that's too opaque, otherwise it's going to take away from the effect that I made in this part. I'm feeling these blocks right here on half opacity black, color 8. These are going to be on T1, just so I can make sure that they are visible. I think this is appropriate because the outside line of these blocks is the least opaque, and the inside is the most opaque. It's kind of a polar opposite to the format of the blocks in here, because they have the most opaque part of the object around the outside edge. I've formatted the rest of these blocks. They're on color 9. I'm going to give them the next free group, which is 242. And I'm going to go and put an alpha trigger all the way over here, which just has 242 on a 0.4% opacity. Then when you get into the wave, it's going to fade for 5 seconds to about let's just say 1 opacity. And then when this ends, that duration line isn't actually showing up. Then we could just go and fade this off for about 3 seconds to maybe a 0.5 this time, make it more opaque than it was, and that's just going to lead us on to the UFO. Going to leave these blocks blank in the transition. Bang, here we go. This should be getting more opaque right now. I can see that. I do want to have them float slightly, just so they have a bit more of a changing aesthetic. Make the level feel like it's a bit more floaty and bubbly as you go in this wave. Okay, the bottom set can be put on 243, and the top set can be put on 244. The top set of blocks are going to be getting moved up first to then come back down after that movement ends, and the bottom is just going to be the opposite. It's going to move down first to then be moved straight back up after that movement ends. Somehow I forgot about these blocks right here. I've copied the values of the outline and the filler block from this block over here, which shouldn't be a problem in the grand scheme of pulses because they are disconnected from every other block. As you can see, there are 6 spikes on screen right now. I just got to copy the values from the blocks that they are resting on, giving them color 9 every time on the detail, since the original blocks do not have that. I just got to make sure that everything is pulsing consistently and at the same time. Alright, I think these designs complement each other pretty well. I've incorporated some movement within the blocks. Gonna have to incorporate some movement within the decoration because I can't really move stuff while there's a mask there, but I'm gonna take a break for now. After the break, I'm gonna have to go and design all of these blocks in the UFO and also the cube, which is gonna probably take the longest amount of time since I haven't even formatted the colors yet, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. Okay, it's time to do the UFO. I want to have 2 color loops for the block design in this part. Every color I've made in this level so far has been copied from color 2, and I'm going to set these onto different color channels instead. The reason for this is because I've got all of these different objects here, but they are just color 2 with different HSV values. But if I'm using color channels to do this, then I can change the value of this specific color channel instead of changing the color 2 and also affecting all of the other lines in this effect. Alright, that is done. I have used 10 color channels, which is 2 lots of groups of 5. This design is going to get done in strips. I'm going to start with this block because it's the longest and it'll show the format of the block best to the viewers. Color 11 for the top, and it's going to move down onto 12, down to 13, down to 14. Then I'm going to take this block, I'm just going to flip it upside down, and this value is then going to be spread to the opposite end of this block. And now I'm going to make a nice efficient color loop. For each of the new color IDs I have just placed, they need to be changed by +30 every time. So this color channel 11 started off on 0, it's now going to +30, and it also needs to go down 0.08 every time. Alright, so I've reached the max values for these blocks. Then I'm going to have to add a regular one that just sets it back to its original color right after that. So that is the loop. But that's only for that color. So what I need to do is copy this. I need to change the color ID to 12. I'm going to move it 1 to the left and just move this block right to the end, because color 12 starts on hue +30. You'll see right here, color 12 +30 minus 0.08. So its base should be on the end. So it is. It's just a very nice way for me to quickly spread the values across to all the other color channels. Okay, I'm going to spread out these color channels right here because I've had an idea of how they're going to change. And then I'm going to copy it and flip it that way with a gap of 3 in between. So it moves up, waits a bit, and then it moves again. You'll see right here. I've also went and selected all of these little hoops right here, and these are going to get put on 15 just to complete this color change right here. As for colors 16 to 20, starting with the bottom layer, I'm going to offset them by 1 block each. I mean, first of all, I should probably set out a structure for this so I can see how it works. This is just going to get copied and pasted over and over again, and I'm probably going to get slated for not using a spawn trigger, but really, this isn't going to lag. And it's just a lot easier in my mind when I'm trying to record a building video ahead of time. I'm getting very close to the release date already, and I haven't even designed everything yet. This might be a cool thing to do. I'm going to select the end trigger of each loop, and I'm just going to set the color to black, because I think that might be quite appropriate just for a solid, abrupt ending. You know what? I'm going to spice up this series. I'm going to use custom objects. And while I go give this block to a bunch of the other structures, I'm going to go and watch something, so I'll make this a time lapse. Alright, I've done a few structures, but I've realised for this to work properly, I'm going to have to put a lot into the structures using these colour cycles to tie it all together. I've done some stuff, some very basic stuff. These slopes are constantly different at all times because the base is on the first loop and the secondary is on the secondary loop. There's been a lot of tampering going on with this design because I can't really get it to look how I want it to, but I think it does look decent the way it is. Alright, I've made a couple of colour adjustments right here. I think it's looking very fresh, very filtered. It gets murkier and murkier as the level goes on, as it fades to black. Gonna make the colours look very unique too. It's fading out right now, Maybe I need to adjust the fade time because it did look a little bit weird, but I'm a big fan of the way it's going so far. I'm actually quite liking these pulses on the blocks with these color loops. I thought it was a little bit weird at first, but the filter has completely changed my mind. Whoa, so you'll notice that the design is gradually broken up and the blocks degrade into solid black blocks down here, as you can see. This is partially to foreshadow the abrupt end right here, although I do want to add some more block deco because this is very bland as it is. I want to use these 4-pieced blocks. I'm going to put them side by side just for reference. Yeah, you can see that this original design that I made has 4 different colors, and this block also has 4 different colors. And I think the transition will be quite seamless, especially since I'm planning to use the same color cycle as what's in these blocks right here. Okay, so I've arranged these blocks in a little chart just so I can evaluate my color arrangements before I line the top edges of these blocks in this section right here. I have used both color loops, admittedly one more than the other, but I feel like the second one gets a better color range. There's a small discrepancy in the way I'm doing this, which is this block right here. I'm going to be using a group of 2 instead of 2 singles because I'm cool like that. Quick interjection, I am going to change this block right here to be color 17. I've got to format the outlines of these blocks now. Bang! Just like that. Then I can go and select all of the default blocks that are in here with a nice old select filter. Then I can just add group 1 and they'll be gone and the new outlines will be in place. Alright, there we go. The new design is in place. As I expected, the transition is pretty much seamless. You can't really tell that the blocks are phased out. I like that. Looks nice and mystical going into the ship. And I'm not going to design that today because it's going to be mostly black. All I've got to do is put the filler blocks in the bottom of those structures that I just built, and I'll be done for the day. Alright, everything is set in stone, fine and dandy. I'm going to play through the level once in normal mode, then I'm going to close off the video. Adios to build week day 4. Everything is designed, apart from a couple of decoration pieces in the end in the black blocks, and also the end block design, which is going to be mostly black anyway, so it's pretty much done design-wise. Some of it was definitely a patience endurance test, especially the stuff that took a lot of tampering with and testing, and I'm enjoying it though. Day 5 will be decorating, so make sure you tune in, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Have a good day.